I'm Edward X. Young, and my politics are right. I want to discuss with you the origins of my support for Donald Trump to be President of the United States of America. I'm an actor. I act in a lot of independent horror films, and it was the Memorial Day weekend of 2015. I had plans. I'd already appeared in about 70 or 80 independent movies. I was actually working on 3 separate productions out in Long Island that very same weekend, the Memorial Day weekend. It was exhausting. I had already gotten all of my waivers and a Taft-Hartley, and I was fully prepared that summer to spend the money to join the Screen Actors Guild and to head out to California, give up my life in New Jersey, and start a new life attempting to play in the big leagues as an actor before I got too old to succeed. But fate took a hand on Memorial Day of 2015. Shortly before midnight, I was coming home for a shoot, and I was involved in a near-fatal car accident. I should backtrack and say, before this accident, I had been called by a producer who was in California, a former New York producer, Tom Churchill, and he was offering me a part in a movie that he was producing, a higher budget than what his previous films had been. I was slated to be in a scene with the actor William Forsythe, and another scene with Fred Williamson, actor and also football star, Fred the Hammer Williamson. But this car accident destroyed these plans. I was left with an arm that was broken in half, broken like an L, and a dislocated wrist, broken ankle, 5 herniated discs in my lower back, 3 in the neck, almost broke my neck, a fractured sternum, 2 dislocated ribs, in terrible agony, and lacerations on the head. My car was smashed to pieces. To make a long story short, I was in my car, driving over the Pulaski Skyway. The accident I was in was due to the fact that in the middle of a fog on a night that was somewhat raining, there was a vehicle that was just stopped with no blinking lights, right over the bridge in the middle of this road, a road on a bridge that was under construction with 1 lane. And as I approached this car going 55 miles an hour, I realized there were people standing on the side of the road. And if I veered to avoid the car, I would have hit people and killed them likely. I ended up plowing into the back of this car, and that's how I was injured. My car was just utterly destroyed. And I was in agony, broken, bleeding. And the occupants of the car came over, and I was begging them to call 911, get on their phones, call for help. And they laughed at me, and they were speaking to each other in Spanish. And the head guy, the guy in front who was speaking to me, was like, "Sorry, man, no speak English," and was pointing at me and laughing like it was the funniest joke he'd ever seen. I was stuck behind the wheel of my car, realizing I was going to get no help. I couldn't locate my own cell phone. I had to drag myself out of the car, covered with blood, an arm that was like broken and dangling. And I was trying to flag motorists down, and people were cursing at me and flipping me the bird and yelling at me to get out of the road and like spitting at me. And finally, one kind woman said, "What's going on here?" And I said, I've been hurt bad in an accident. My car is destroyed. Look at these cars, they're destroyed." And she said, "Well, why don't you get those guys to call for help?" I said, they're drunk, they're high, they're stoned. They think this is a joke, they're laughing. Please, for the love of God, I'm in agony. I showed her my broken arm. She was shocked. And she said, "Look, I'll call the cops. Just get back in your car. I went back in. I said, "Thank you, ma'am." And of course, I was eventually rescued by the officers and spent the next several weeks in a hospital being put back together. But my accident, it turns out, was caused by an illegal Mexican alien driving a borrowed car. And he had no license, not even a license in Mexico. He was a young guy and wearing a lot of expensive jewelry too. But because this was Newark, New Jersey, which is very liberal, and they can't show any kind of prejudice against undocumented immigrants, this individual was not arrested. And in fact, he was just given a summons and released to vanish like Kaiser Soze. It turned out that the owner of the car tried to claim that, like, oh yeah, that guy was visiting me, but I never gave him permission to take my car. He tried to make it look like the guy had stolen his car, but it was probably a different story. But anyhow, the thing was, I was left ruined. My career was destroyed. I had to call the producer from my hospital bed and tell him that I'm not coming out to California. I'm not acting in this movie. And he was shocked. And I told him, I said, I'm in the hospital. And he said, well, we're not shooting for like 3 weeks. I'm sure you'll be fine. I said, you don't understand. I've got a broken arm, a broken leg, broken ribs, herniated discs. He was like, well, I'm sorry, man, we'll have to replace you. But anyhow, so there I was, shattered, in traction, in a hospital bed in Newark. My career, my hopes, my dreams ruined. And I was deeply depressed. But then from my hospital bed, I had Fox News on one night after one of my surgeries, and I watched Donald Trump descend that golden escalator and announce his candidacy for the presidency. And I heard his speech. And the fact that a big part of that first speech was about building the wall and border security and doing something about illegal immigrants. And I said to myself, this is my guy. I am going to support this guy for president. And he introduced the hat at that speech. I think he introduced it. But a few days later, a good friend of mine, Don, came to visit me at the hospital. I had no car anymore, and he was the one who was prepared to pick me up when I was well and bring me back to my sister's home where I could recuperate. And when Don came to visit me a few days after, I told him, I said, you know, when I get out of this hospital, you're not going to take me home right away. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you're gonna drive me into New York City. And he said, what am I doing that for? I said, because I'm going to go to Trump Tower, and I'm going to buy one of those Make America Great Again hats.